So, obviously the garden renewal operation has expanded significantly. And I'm pretty pleased. So, I figured I'd give you a little update, tour of what I got going. So, first off, I'll say that, I started with the seeds. And shortly after that, I had this tree that I had gotten from Lowe's or Home Depot or something, and the tree has since died, but there was this vining plant, golden pothos, that I found out later, that was snaking out of the sides, and that was doing very well. So I was like, okay, let me just take this whole thing apart and see if I can make this thing survive. So then I repotted that, and I was like, and I wish I had something to do with this. So I pulled everything apart, got rid of the tree, detached all the roots of the pothos, and then repotted it in its own thing. And I don't really remember what spawned this remembrance, but suddenly I remembered that plant propagation was a thing. That you can just take plants that you have and divide them or snip them or take cuttings and then you have more plants. And so that kind of is what spawned all this stuff going right now. It just completely slipped my mind that was a fact of life, that plants reproduce naturally and life wants to keep living. But I ended up going for several long walks with a backpack and a mister and some Tupperware and my gardening knife and scissors. Because here in Florida there's tons of naturally occurring plant life that most places you have to get at the store. So just by going around, I was able to get a pretty fair collection going that I'm pretty excited about. So I'll kind of walk you through, try to avoid just being like, and this is this, and this is this, and this is this, But ultimately it is just an update. So you can see comparatively, because when I started the seeds, that's all I had. And then just the pothos draining out of the dead tree. And I guess technically my dragon fruit still, but that has also evolved slightly. So it kind of all started with this guy here. You can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 pothos, and I actually have another one inside that is propagating right now, but that fucker just wants to live. It just wants to live. You can just snip it. If you look in here, any of these little nodes here, if you just cut down there and pop that sucker in some water, it's gonna survive. I think I've had 100% success in pothos propagation, which is not the case with everything else. But that gets me pretty excited. So now, just from that one plant, I didn't even buy this, not the pot. I didn't even buy the pothos. I bought the tree, that guy there. That came out of it, and now I have so many plants. And eventually this will vine down and hang, and then I can pop them up in the apartment. But pretty sweet. So other than that, as far as an update for the seeds alone, I'll show you what we've got going on. I planted the peppers, the 2 kinds of basil, and then some herbs. And I will say that not a single one of the herbs outside of basil sprouted. Later I learned that the lavender and rosemary that I planted are very difficult to get to sprout. Starting from seed is hard as shit, and you have to do a bunch of specific things, and then you have to take really good care of them, and they grow really slow. So I actually have a pot of rosemary seeds in the fridge right now to cold stratify, and I don't know if that's going to work because it's already in soil, but we're trying it anyways because it's better than what was happening before, which was nothing. So those are doing well. The other seeds that sprouted are doing good. You can see Hungarian wax. That's the F1 cayenne that I'm very excited about. I ain't never seen no pepper with fucking numbers in the name, you know what I mean? And then there's some jalapenos. And I will say, pro gardener tip, don't put them in pots this big. Like when they first sprout, let them develop roots and slowly upgrade them, because I've already lost, I think I had 3 other seedlings in all of these, and they've all since died. And now I'm being very cautious with these, but I'm not sure that I want to repot them. I might at some point, but I don't know. It just seems risky. I don't like moving them around so much. And then as far as the other seeds go, this is our basil. Look at this guy. This guy's doing so good. And I did prune it. You could see here that I cut that top node, and now it's already growing these side leaves. So that's kind of how you get the bushiness. And eventually what I'd like to do is just keep growing this and put it in one of those big pots over there, and then just have an overwhelming supply of basil. I'm not really sure what to do with it, but at least I got it, right? And then this is the spicy globe, which is not as grown in as the Genovese, but still doing pretty good, and obviously looks so completely. I got this guy turned around from yesterday. Looks like he's getting a little burnt out here. But just the comparison between the two species is pretty wild, and I'm very excited about that. And then shortly after I did that video, I did start some baby leaf spinach, so that's all going here. And funny enough, I think some of the parsley that I planted in the last batch that didn't sprout ended up sprouting in this one, because now, like, I just mixed all that stuff back in the soil, and so I was assuming that as I plant things, random stuff will just grow, which is a win in my book. And then that was a pre-existing one as well. This is the dragon fruit that I actually grew from seed, and then it was this whole big thing, and I ended up snipping off a bunch of parts of it and propagating it on its own. The rest of it's still in here and still growing, actually, which is not very much of a shock to me, because cactuses don't really need much to survive. But as far as seeds, everything's doing pretty good that did sprout. Other than that, everything else out here, save for 3 things, has come from just nature. Like, I've just picked up along the way and acquired completely legally from various sources. So we'll go through those somewhat quickly. So this is a Thai plant. I just cut off all the leaves because I think it was kind of stressed trying to get water to all those, and it hasn't quite rooted yet, but I've got it in a little terracotta down there, and hopefully we'll get it to take. I don't see any new leaf growth yet, so I mean, this leaf is completely new since I got it, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And this guy, look at that fucker, is a bird of paradise that I took from somewhere else. And we've got that trying to root right now. I did put it in water. It sprouted like this little root head. My propagation technique in the beginning was pretty rough, but I have since repotted everything. But it wasn't looking good. I think it was just too much moisture in there. Now, all of these are called donkey ears. When I went for the first walk, I saw them. They were like this big, succulent, just, it looks like donkey ears. They're these long-eared leaves that stick out, and then actually on the end, they sprout these little things. They look just like this coming off the ends of the leaves, and they already have an intact root system, which I thought was incredible. So I didn't even have to rob anybody. I just could pick them right off and throw them in a jar and then take them home and plant them. Incredible. Propagation of a croton, another one trying down there. Those have not been doing well. This is passion fruit cuttings that I got from technically an ant. This, I don't know what that is, but I did take some cuttings there, and this is a little asparagus fern that we got going there. Aloe that I rescued. My lady was chopping this off to use as like facial cream, and obviously you could see that she just went too wild, but I have since repotted it, and now it's a lot happier in there. This is a Fittonia, or a nerve plant that I got. I did pay for this one. It was like $5 for the whole, not this, but it came in its own little thing, and I've repotted it now there, and then I have 3 propagations going inside that I'll show you later. But it's like a big terrarium plant, so I figured better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right? Better in my pocket than just sitting on the shelf at Lowe's. This guy was acquired on one of my walks, which I think is pretty brilliant, because from the top, it's just green, but then on the bottom, it's all purple leaves. Like, how nuts is that, right? Here's some mint that I also just chopped back. So hopefully it'll get bushier, because I cut it all here, and you can see again, when you chop at right above a node, it starts to grow off the corners right there. And then here is some celery from store-bought. Anytime I see leftovers from cooking, I'm like, man, let me just pop it in water and see what happens. And this guy immediately started growing, and now it has all these little roots. So I did plant it yesterday, and we'll see what happens. I'm pretty excited about it though. And this is kind of my crown jewel right now. Elephant ear, giant taro, I don't know, colocasia, already getting big. This leaf is new since I got it, and eventually it'll get pretty large, and that is what I'm excited about. I mean, already it's the size of my hand, which is incredible. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got another some or other going there. It looks like it really wants to start sprouting off the top, but hasn't quite done it yet. Oh, and this is all garlic, or green onion, sorry, from store-bought. So obviously this guy didn't make it. The rest of this is just the like when you buy green onion and they leave the root butts on them. I just saved those, popped them in water, and then after they started growing, put them in soil, and they're doing pretty great. Again, much too big a pot for what it needs, I think, right now. There's just some more spinach, another one of these guys, and that's kind of it for out here. As far as inside, it's pretty much just propagation. So this is another one. These leaves were yellow before I put it on here. That's why I cut it off. But it does look like it already has some new growth there, which is good. We'll see if it roots. This is my first time starting them in soil and not water. Typically I start pothos in water. But I wanted to try and test this out. And then here's some other little things. This is another passion fruit, and all the passion fruits that I have. I'm just trying to split test the difference between water propagation and soil propagation, and then obviously I have another one out there. Because last time I did a big round of propagations, I literally walked all around my apartment and just snipped branches off of bushes and vines and all this stuff to try and see, and I started it all in water, and none of it worked. My propagation success rate is not very good, right? My KD is not looking good as of now. So I'm trying to fine tune how I'm able to do these things. I heard these guys like propagating in water, so I have these started, and I have all these little jars now, so it's perfect for plant propagation. And then this is just a small terrarium to see if the humidity will get these things to root and grow faster. I heard that these really like a moist environment, so that should be perfect. Everything else, pretty much, I've got snake plants, snake plants, snake plants, and then I have two more, and then yeah, I just potted this guy up because that was actually part of this, which all of these were all part of one big plant bundle. It was just so overcrowded in its pot that I eventually was like, let me just see if I can break this up. And actually seeing that developed root system is pretty incredible. But for example, this guy right here looks like two separate plant nodes here. But if you go under the soil, there's actually a big thick bar that runs exactly horizontal to these plants that connects them. That's a root bar, which I thought was pretty incredible. I mean, like I said, to see the fully developed root system was just nuts, because so many things form in ways that don't really make sense, and yet it does anyway. It's remarkable. But yeah, pretty much all of the snake plants that I have in here came from a single plant. I think this one is different. I think there's one more in there that came from a different plant as well. But other than that, I have 4 or 5 big pots, including the little one that I just showed you, that is all from the same thing. So that propagation by splitting is definitely like, it's a fucking total hack. That these things just, especially snake plants, they just keep growing and keep growing and keep producing more and more and more. So you can just get in the roots and rip it apart, which I'll show at some point once these guys get bigger. But that'll probably be a while from now. That last one took like 2 years to grow. I think we had it for at least a year. But yeah, so just a couple notes on, obviously this has expanded significantly since the seed planting, which I'm pretty excited about. Plants is just one of those things that like the mead, which I also have an update on at the end of this, by the way, like the taking apart TVs and appliances and stuff like that. There's just some things that when I open that door, it just sucks me right in, and I just can't stop. I get all consumed by this concept. And so obviously these are the fruits of my labor, and it is pretty nice, especially to just come and sit out here and just, when I get home from work or when I wake up in the morning, and just come out here and check and see how everything's doing. Does it need water? Does it not? It's pretty great. And which is hilarious, because not even 10% of the plants that I have, maybe about 10% are fruit bearing, are gonna actually give me food, and the rest are just house plants, which has not been the ratio that I've had in the past. Still, it's so, look at How can you not dig that, dude? It's so sweet. And I got that for $8 from a lady that propagates her own. So long term, once I get this guy to be huge, then it'll produce little corns in the bottom. I don't know if you can split them. I don't know if that's how that works, but I know that they produce corns that are just big seeds that you can grow. But that's pretty sweet. But yeah, pretty exciting. I will say that plant propagation is not a surefire thing, and sometimes things die, but I will say that something that has definitely helped across the board when it comes to gardening is keeping things in appropriate sized pots. Because I just have a tendency to put things in the biggest pot possible for some reason, or at least like 6 months ahead of the growth, just to kind of give it room. But really that doesn't make any sense, because that soil just retains the moisture and it ends up just killing the plant very often. Actually, yesterday I downsized a ton of pots, or done a ton of plants into smaller pots, and got to reclaim some soil. So just stage your growth upgrades accordingly, and just when it starts to get a little bit root bound, that's when you can take it out of there and upgrade it. But until that point, like, most things are perfectly happy crowding out the plant pot that they're in. So that's something that I've kind of had to come to terms with. But we're improving, we're growing. As far as the mead, I was gonna do like an update on me bottling that, because that process is pretty cool. But I was staying up late playing Warzone, and I did end up drinking almost that whole half gallon. There's some left, but not enough to bottle. So we'll just have to save that for the next batch. But it was good. It was good, if you must know. I just had the little coupe glass that I was pouring it in, and it was pretty sick, pretty nice. And it came from me, you know what I mean? I made that shit. And also, along with the plant journey, I've realized that if I can grow wheat and keep bees and farm honey and grow any kind of fruit, I can have unlimited mead just coming off the land, which is pretty nice. Obviously, I don't have the space for that here, but as soon as I have a backyard, you bet your ass I'm gonna start beekeeping. That first batch of mead that is completely free, it's gonna be the best tasting one yet, I guarantee it. But that's it for today. I just wanted to give a little update so you can see how things are going. Probably give an update again. I'm hoping this bird of paradise does root, because when it flowers, it's pretty sick. And even before it flowers, the leaves are pretty great. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one. Nick out.